Hi, this is Kurt from Boards 3D, and today I'm going to show you how I made these GoPro adapters for my tripod, which I need for future filming and some projects which I'm doing. So I started off by measuring all the dimensions I needed on my GoPro, the prongs where the bolt fits in so that I could fix it to the tripod. Once I had taken the measurements, I could launch Fusion 360, which is 3D modeling software by Autodesk, and I started by drawing up some sketches. I chose to start with the circular, the round part through which the bolt goes through. I designed the middle one first so that I could sort of build from there. I used simple commands such as extrusion and copy and pasting and duplicating, which allowed me to make very easy operations. I decided to reinforce where a tiny M5 nut goes through the print, which the bolt ties in. I later went back and revised this because I made the hexagonal shape a bit too small, but it worked out just fine for what I needed at the moment. Once that was done, I started working on a base which would clip into the tripod itself. The good thing about Fusion 360 is that you can go back in the timeline, edit the sketches, and everything will be updated. Any operation done after the sketch will be updated accordingly. I chose to sort of curve the edges down so that to have a pretty good looking shape, in my opinion. Once that was done, I started calculating and taking measurements in the tripod itself. I based my design off several others I found on Thingiverse and on My Mini Factory. So definitely this isn't the first of its kind, not by a long shot. But it is exactly what I needed. I found that the ones which I downloaded previously were either too big or too small for what I needed, and therefore this is why I designed my own. I encourage you that if you do have a 3D printer, to get into Fusion 360 or any other 3D modeling software, because it's extremely satisfying to do something like this. After readjusting the thickness of the prongs, I played around with several designs such as tapering, one of them, but then I realized that it would not fit properly with the bolt. I decided to leave everything as is. I later went back and thickened the wall where the nut rests so as to add better support and makes it easier to print. I don't like a lot of sharp edges on my design, so I tried to sort of fillet the ones that I had. As you can see over here, I had a bit of a problem sort of filleting. It's got to do with merging and the cutting of the model, some operations I did previously. Then I decided to, instead of doing something like that, instead of trying to fix it properly, I split the model in half, copied it, and mirrored it, and it worked out just fine. I toyed around with moving the prongs, sort of positioning them better, but then eventually I decided on squaring everything up, flushing all the surfaces of the platform to the prongs, and I think that worked out just fine. I picked the material sort of to see what it would look like. I like doing this, it gives an air of finality to the project. One last thing, I chose to add boards GD on the bottom of the design. It's not something which will hinder the structure itself. It's just something there, sort of, for several purposes. Well, first of all, it's going to be branding, sort of. People will know that I made this thing. Secondly, it serves as a direction, and sort of boards 3D should be the right way up when you're printing. Makes for a better print. After making sure that the model was exactly as I wanted, I sent it off to the printer. So the print took about an hour and 15 minutes to complete, something around that time, and it was pretty decent. The quality is pretty good. I used 0.1mm layer height resolution and about 10% infill, which makes it strong enough for its purpose. There are some minor imperfections on the bottom where the bed of the printer is, but that's mostly got to do with how badly I treat my printer, which is a Prusa i3 Mark II, and I have to say it's a very good printer to get started with, not terribly expensive. I got the kit myself, so I built it, so there are bound to be some imperfections, mostly due to my inexperience with doing this kind of stuff. But Prusa i3 Mark II, definitely recommended. And I have to say that this is not a sponsored message by Prusa. I'm very happy with the printer they have. I'm definitely looking at the i3 Mark III at the moment. However, I think I would not build it myself, though it's incredibly enticing. Anyway, I digress. I put a tiny nut in there, and basically that is there to hold the bolt while it screws in there. The holes themselves are a bit tiny, and that helps. In my case, it helped a lot because basically the threads are cut inside, and even without the nut, it works just fine. I added the nut just for an extra measure of security. Next, I would like to make a small handle around this bolt to emulate the GoPro's, the handle kind of thing. The adapter works quite well. In fact, I shot the time lapse of the 3D printing with a previous prototype. It worked quite well, really. Definitely something I can improve on is maybe adding to the side of the base over here, and basically that is so that it fits better in my tripod. But that is something which you can achieve, with trial and error, and this comes with experience, and I'm learning as well. I learned a lot of new things. Anyway, if you like what I'm doing over here, hit that like button. If you're new here and would like to follow more of my projects, hit that subscribe button and you will be kept up to date, hopefully. If you'd like to download the 3D model for this, you'll find it down in the links in the description below, as well as over on any of my social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. You'll find them in the description down below as well. Just as I have been inspired by makers online and people around me, so just go out there and make this tiny thing, which is incredibly useful for my needs. I hope that you too can be inspired by what you've seen here and go and do something for yourself. Thanks for joining me.